You've built up the boogeyman. You've created the larger than life of this freaking loser, this fat, ugly, bad comb over, orange man, all the other things, tiny hands, little dick, big belly, whatever it is that they throw at him, right? They turned this guy who was a clown into something to be rallied around by these people that genuinely hate shit liberty.
And of course, the thing about Trump that cannot be denied is that he is the greatest political football that the Democratic Party establishment could have ever hoped for. Now, of course, they probably didn't see that coming prior to the election. They really did not think he was going to win. But once he did, they had to circle the wagons and figure out how we're going to use this to our advantage. And believe it or not, they really did. And look, even when Commie John makes statements like this,
he's right.
Stalin did defeat Hitler. But never forget the cost that was paid of the Russian people in order to achieve.
Can we talk about that for just a second? It's not my job to carry Stalin's water. It's not my job to be an apologist for history. But it is my job to set the record straight, right? Whenever you have, and you can go back to the French Revolution, you could go back even further, but just start at some of these base. The French Revolution's the easiest one to see clearly. Actually, the U.S. Revolution's pretty easy to see too. But if you go back to France, right, every revolution has a counter-revolution. Every counter-revolution involves doing things to fuck over the revolution. And every revolution wants to get back at the counter-revolution. This is a nonstop truism in history. We did so much research on the arc of revolution and the arc of the counter-revolutions. I have interviewed so many people about this specific thing because so many people have it in their head that we should just go out and have a revolution. And I am a revolutionary that's saying we're not ready for that. We have not organized. We still have people that are true believers. Okay, so we can't do anything, right?
They all got this.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, when I think about Stalin eradicated illiteracy. Stalin took a peasant country and made it competitive with the largest industrial power in the world. Stalin did a lot of things.
He's not without his benefits. I would never say.
All I'm saying is that the kulaks, when you go through this and you understand the history of Russian society and the Russian Revolution, there were so many things that happened within that space. And since you're not part of a revolution, unfortunately, we're not. I would kind of weirdly happy that we're not, and yet sort of sad that we're not. But the fact of the matter is that if you understand the revolution, counter-revolution, revolution, counter-revolution, when the kulaks decided they were not going to produce food, and all of a sudden they had a famine, and millions upon millions of people died, that wasn't Stalin, by the way, okay? And what the problem is that you look at Mao, and I mean, I had so many stupid Republican versions of what Mao in China was, and then I took the time to do the research, and I realized a lot of what Mao was a hands-off guy. He had his generals throughout the country, and he was the first one to reach into the peasantry, into the woods, and to the people, the villages, and give them literacy, give them medical care. But what happened? Because he said that X number amount of grain had to come back to the main, to the central, as kind of their feeding of all the people, when there was famine, the generals would literally lie that their production levels met the amount that Stalin or Mao wanted, and they would send Mao the amount that they did, and they would starve the people. And guess what? Mao didn't do that. That wasn't, literally history does not show Mao killed those people, but because people listen to comic book versions of history and they don't do that tough deep dive. And believe me, coming from a Republican background, it was hard for me to cross that bridge. But once I did, it was like, Jesus Christ. So if we have a revolution in this country, and let's say it's Pete and Steve's revolution, and we somehow or another at the top of the food chain at the end, and all of a sudden the counter-revolution is doing everything they can to assassinate you and I. And now just like Robespierre in France. I mean, this was a guy that was the uncorruptible. He was one of the people, he had the highest of like morals. He was a great man. But as people kept trying to take his life and take his life and take his life, he went crazy with paranoia. Okay. At the end, they kill him. He gets beheaded. And what happens? The people say, we want the monarchy back. And so they bring back the king for a minute. And Napoleon says, fuck that shit. And Napoleon takes over, right? But if you understand the way arc of, revolutions go, you stop acting like everybody was just voting for this and everything was cool. These folks, the Russians were under Tsarist Russia, where the most feckless loser Tsar, Nicholas, couldn't even he didn't even want to be Tsar. He was like, God, why do I have to be Tsar, basically? He's a pampered baby and a weirdo at that. The Bolshevik Revolution was pretty bloodless, actually. Literally, most everybody's like, yeah, we're tired of World War I. Yeah, okay. The army didn't even attack them. It was just sort of like, boom. But what ends up happening? The counter-revolution, okay? I think it's really important to understand that as sexy as the idea of revolution is, we have to be ready that if there is a revolution, there will always be a counter-revolution. And with that counter-revolution, to protect the gains of the revolution, guess what's going to happen? You don't like to hear it. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to do the homework. You don't want to believe it. But the fact of the matter is that unfortunately, these revolutions produce death.
Oh,
it's not what you want. You don't want to hear that, but that's true. And until people realize that this fake thing that's going on now can't be voted out, and the alternative is you got to go up against the world's #1 military, or hope to God the military itself lays down its weapons and sides with the people. It won't, because they've produced a series of jackbooted people in the military now that are literally cranked out of their brain, and then they become cops, and then they do what they do. We're at a point now where we have to really understand what that means to say, I'm a revolutionary. What does it mean to say, I want revolution? What does it mean to say this voting system isn't real? This everything isn't real. And when you get to that point and you start asking those tough questions, and I'm not giving you, I'm telling you, this is real. I'm not saying, oh, it's great to kill. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm giving you a history lesson because it's important, because if things come like that in this country or any other country, these are the things that happen. What you're watching in Gaza right now is a significant display of power to frighten other people around the world. That's what one of the benefits that the U.S. gets about doing this over there is by funding it over there, people get to see, hey, you come up against the military, you're dead. You're going to be bombed. We got bombs on loan from God. And so that keeps people, just like the cop city and just like all the militarized police in this country, there is so much going on because they know that they are treading on, the lie is too easy to see through now. And so they've got to tighten it down with police. They got to tighten it down on the campus. You can't speak freely now. So you just need to understand what's at stake. It's not like Joseph Stalin went around blasting people away. It wasn't like Lenin went away blasting people away. It wasn't like Robespierre started that way until the terror. The terror came as a result, initially, of some people trying to take back the gains of the revolution. And then as it got crazier and crazier, as he got more and more paranoid, I mean, then it became, 11, 14,000 people guillotined. I mean, it's just crazy. But you got to understand that is the way revolutions work. They're not pretty. They're ugly.
I agree. I'm not disputing that. I've done a lot of studying on Stalin. I think he was exceptionally terrible, especially compared to somebody like Lenin. I think that, like you said, there's fault in almost any revolutionary leader that will rise. But the fact of the matter is, revolutions, real revolutions, we could have had a soft one with Bernie Sanders if the powers that be allowed for the democratic process to play out. It wasn't allowed to play out. And now, and it's almost coming to fruition 8 years later, we're heading towards a violent one with somebody like Donald Trump. Because the people that hold the reins of power, and this has been true throughout history, as powerful as people were in the days of Genghis Khan or Julius Caesar, and on down through the Crusades and beyond. You would think that there are people that are smart enough to sound the alarm and say, maybe we have to do something different. They never sound the alarm fast enough. By the time the alarm is being sounded, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, or dare I say millions of people are already dead. And that's the problem. And that is the fear.
Take me back to Haiti for a minute, right? So right after, during the French Revolution, the Haitian Revolution occurs, right? You've got Dessalines, who is the foot soldier to what's his face? My God, how am I missing his name? I can see his face. Call me John if you see him right there. Tell me. Oh, let's see here. I'm screwing his name up because I'm on the spot and I'm tired here. Haiti Revolution leader. There we go. Toussaint Louverture. Thank you, Jesus. All right. So Toussaint was kind of like the Obama of revolutionaries. He wanted desperately to be part of the French aristocracy, and he kept playing games with them.
Could you do me a favor and just tell your buddy that I actually do know a few things? I may not know everything. I don't know everything, but I definitely
a smart cat.
I definitely know a few things. We don't, and you know what? And the thing, and this is why I think a lot of people have, asked me, when I'm running for office and that type of thing, because the fact is, I can get along with people that I don't agree with. I don't have to agree with you, but I can still communicate with you. And we live in a world today where it's almost like if I don't agree with you, then I don't want to know you. I don't want to talk to you. And this is why we can't get together and coalesce through a labor revolution, if you want to call it that. But that's the only way we're going to save ourselves. There is no other way.